We are standing on Highway 131 in Ontario. It's actually a little bit better than when I was here earlier around noon. But if you take a look, this park, which you can't even really see, is still completely underwater. We've got a shed down there that's off its foundation, a swing set that, again, you can't really see. Just to kind of give you an idea of how bad it is, I'm going to take you guys to the other side where we've got a couple of canoes that are sort of floating in the water, at least 3 different canoe businesses that are also sitting in water. When I was here earlier around noon, I wouldn't have been able to stand here. I mean, the water would have probably been up to here on me. So the water, again, is receding. But look, this is what they have to deal with now. So cleanup efforts are well underway. Hey guys, so we've been talking about it all day. Since 6 o'clock in the morning, the United Service Organization has been out here collecting donations for troops who are oftentimes traveling to Fort McCoy, waiting at the La Crosse Regional Airport. Take a look at this. I'm standing on the levee right now at Riverside Park. Riverfest starts on Wednesday. I'm excited. I hope you guys are. What a lot of people don't realize is it takes 1 whole year to set up and prepare for this popular tradition. Now, Sergeant Walsh tells me construction is actually helping drivers slow down, so there is some good coming out of it. Walking through aisles of movies like this here is pretty nostalgic for some people, and perhaps that's why places like family video stores on Alaska and La Crosse are still succeeding. Renting movies might seem like a thing of the past, but managers here tell me that's why they're still thriving. I am right now holding one of Wisconsin's absolute favorite foods, cheese curds. Let me tell you, they are absolutely delicious. I had some earlier myself. I may or may not have shared them with anyone. Now, although the volunteers were hoping for a warmer day, they tell me they'd be out here no matter what. When I was here earlier around noon, there were $150 worth of cash donations. Now, there's more than 1,000. It's just truly incredible. According to Tri-State numbers, the use of Narcan has so far decreased 22% from last year. However, that may not necessarily mean good news. Good evening and thanks for joining us at 6. I'm Sarah Thamer. A helicopter hit power lines and crashed into a river in eastern Wisconsin. A log rolling tournament is hoping to inspire a new generation of rollers. On the audio, President Trump expresses surprises over her firing. Thousands of people are taking to the streets across the country to speak out against the current immigration policy. An explosion rocked the Sun Prairie community last night. The gas line explosion leveled several buildings, sparking fires and evacuations. A new study shows Wisconsin has seen a growth in jobs, but that doesn't mean lower poverty. All right, not bad after all that 90-degree weather last week. Yeah. I'm all good with a little break. Yeah. Several high schools in our area, including Central High School in La Crosse, honored students and teachers in Florida by walking out of school this morning. They wanted to remember those who lost their lives while also sending an important message to lawmakers. They say now more than ever, they want to see change.
I don't want to be scared to go to school.
17 minutes.
It's not about politics.
Of silence.
It's about our safety.
To remember.
I was very emotional.
The 17 lives lost on February 14th at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida.
We're not going to sit idly and watch our fellow students across America be killed.
Central High School students say the message is simple.
I come to school and my classmates are worried that something's going to happen to them.
School should not be a place to fear.
I've messaged my mom. That's not a message I have to send to my mom, that I love her.
But on this day, they're choosing strength.
It's great to see that so many young people are standing with us.
Students say the protest may be silent, but the reason is loud and clear.
A kid that is 17 years old, finds a way to get a gun, or when you're old enough to get a gun, you need to have a thorough background.
They say being pro-gun legislation and supporting gun rights is not mutually exclusive.
I am actually a Second Amendment supporter. I believe that, everybody does have the right to bear arms, but I also believe students have the right to go to school safely without the threat of being shot.
I'm not anti-gun. My dad is in the military. He owns several different guns. He legally can own them. I have no problem with that.
Central High School students say they're walking out because they feel affected by school tragedies across the country. And while the simple act of walking out won't necessarily bring immediate change, they're hoping those 17 minutes of silence can start a real conversation on change.
Nobody wants to go to school and be killed because of it.
And not every student participated in today's walkout. We did ask Central High School if we can go inside of the buildings to get that perspective from students that chose not to walk out, but they said that they wanted to make sure that they kept the school inside a safe space for students. The Facebook posts are written by different people but have a similar tone. They include reports of suspicious activity relating to sex trafficking, and almost all of them mention Latino or Hispanic men. I decided to investigate the posts a little further, and what I found serves as a reminder to fact check your source before you click that share button. In the age of social media,
you've got a community that sees these posts time and time again.
Information spreads faster than we can think.
And they start to believe that, oh my goodness, this is going on all over.
With a simple click of a button.
When in actuality, we're just getting few incidents reported to us.
You can be the person who either shares facts or fiction.
It creates an environment for others that's fearful.
You may have seen posts like this circulating on Facebook. People in La Crosse saying they're being followed and wanted for sex trafficking. Many of the posts include Latino or Hispanic men as the description. I asked La Crosse police if reports on any of those incidents have been filed to their department.
We haven't had any reports of anybody being abducted, anybody being kidnapped. We've had no reports at this time that leads us to believe of any of the suspicious activities would be surrounding sex trafficking.
One status in particular from Tuesday names Winona, La Crosse, Mankato, and Fountain City as having recent reports of sex trafficking. I called each of those community police departments. Winona, La Crosse, and Mankato confirmed they haven't had any. We're still waiting to hear back from Fountain City. The La Crosse Police Department felt it was necessary to take to Facebook to remind people that while these crimes are possible, the Facebook posts could be painting a false picture.
We have all walks of life here, and I think we need to once again be vigilant, but also be vigilant of the fact that we do have a variety of backgrounds that live and work and raise families here as well, and we would never want to target one specific population or background.
Vernon County Sheriff John Spears says in cases like this, if you're not sure if something is true, simply call your local police department. They're aware not every incident gets reported, but it doesn't stop them from investigating.
It's frustrating because people are using social media to report stuff, sometimes when they should be picking up the phone and notifying their local law enforcement agencies of it, or if they have information.
What concerns us is we see these posts, but law enforcement's not contacted.
The point is, it's important to be fact-checking everything before you share it on social media.
And obviously the goal here is not to delegitimize
Right.
what people are saying or have concerns, serious concerns.
Of course.
But yeah, what should they be doing if they do have serious concerns about their safety?
Absolutely. If you don't know for sure if it happened, call your local police department or even us here at News 8. I also do want to note, to your point, sex trafficking is a real problem and it does happen here in our area. However, police found the recent posts circulating on Facebook may be creating unnecessary fear because, again, none of them have been reported to police. Again, this should in no way discourage people from taking extra steps to be safe at all times. One Toma mother says laws like these may have helped her 17-year-old son, who she believes was sex trafficked. It's been 2 years since he died, but the mission to find justice for Jeffrey is still very much alive. Life isn't the same for Lisa McCormick.
This photo here is actually one of the last photos that we have of him.
Looking through pictures of what would be a 19-year-old Jeffrey, Lisa is reminded each day her son will always be 17.
A part of you knows that that was going to happen someday. I never thought it would happen before my son turned 18.
September 30th of 2016, Jeffrey died of a heroin overdose. 3 months after Jeffrey's death, Lisa learned he was sex trafficked.
As we were planning the funeral, somebody drove to the funeral home and dropped off an envelope of photos. And on the outside of the envelope, it says, "Give to the McCormick family." These are photos of Jeffrey from the last few months of his life.
The funeral home warned Lisa the photos were graphic. It took her 3 months to build up the courage to finally look through them.
It was difficult to look at the photos.
Photos of Jeffrey show he was possibly under the influence. They show other men, but their faces are usually cropped out. They show what Lisa says is a vulnerable Jeffrey. She suggests it's a trafficker's way of showing they had power over her son.
That they were in control at all times, that they had him.
She explains Jeffrey dealt with drug addiction for most of his teen years. Going in and out of juvenile detention centers and running away from home was a habit.
He was struggling just with different rehabs and hospitals and trying to figure out what to do.
At 17, Jeffrey started working at a nightclub in Madison, where Lisa says he met his alleged traffickers.
When you find out how traffickers look for kids and look for young people, it could be anywhere and any time.
He developed a relationship with those men who convinced him of a different way he could be making more money.
And when you're pretty down and out on your luck, like Jeffrey was, you know, he was barely making it on his own, of course he said yes.
Not long after he met the men who would soon become his alleged traffickers, Jeffrey's mom says his drug addiction was used against him, and he was forced to have sex with women he didn't know in exchange for money.
These women paid for sex with him.
Money he never kept.
They provided him with, you know, all new clothes, new shoes, lots of jewelry, cell phones, lots of drugs.
Lisa says although Jeffrey didn't exactly say he was sex trafficked, he was open with her about some of the things he did and why he did them.
I didn't realize it was trafficking at that time. I thought it was just prostitution. I didn't realize the difference at that point.
She says she even heard from others Jeffrey was being sold on Craigslist.
He was being trafficked from Madison to Iowa.
At the time, she wasn't sure if Jeffrey was prostituting himself, so she worked closely with Madison detectives to determine whether he was sex trafficked. According to Madison detectives, Jeffrey did admit he was ordered to have sex. He also admitted there was always something exchanged, whether it was drugs or money.
He's told the police that he had had sex with at least 10 women, that he'd been beaten up twice, but that he was abused. He'd had all the drugs he wanted. He had a place to live, a phone. They took care of him, but he'd been trafficked during that entire time frame.
But the information he provided detectives with was limited and oftentimes missing key parts.
They can only be arrested if you have proof that they are traffickers.
Madison police are aware of Jeffrey's alleged traffickers because they are registered sex offenders. They had search warrants and phone records, but the process to prosecute suspects of sex trafficking is different than charging someone as a sex offender. La Crosse District Attorney Tim Greinke explains there are specific elements needed to prove to a jury.
The first is that people have to be engaged in some sort of a commercial sex act, which is usually sex in exchange for money, but it could be something else like drugs or really anything of value. The other element is that somebody is forcing somebody else to do that, either by a threat or an act of violence or by some sort of coercion to get them kicked out of their housing or report them to Human Services. And the other thing is that the person doing the trafficking gets some benefit out of it. So they get the money, they keep the item of value, the drugs, whatever.
These elements almost align in Jeffrey's case, but he's not here to fill the missing pieces, which means so long as it's his word against the alleged traffickers, they are free and may be trafficking other children today.
So it'd be difficult to have somebody testify to these things and be allowed to be cross-examined, so that might be the bar in this case why he can't go forward.
However, new potential laws in Wisconsin State Assembly could prevent cases like Jeffrey's from continuing to happen.
In the last couple of years, there's been a big push to educate all the people within the system, police, prosecutors, victim advocates, to try to recognize the signs of when something might be a little bit deeper than what it first appears.
Life may not be the same now for Lisa, but she's finding purpose as she works with state representatives to raise awareness on sex trafficking. She says the efforts, in some way, will help bring justice for Jeffrey and other children who are sex trafficked in Wisconsin each year.
If we can use Jeffrey's story to share with other people so that they don't have to go through what we went through.
I spoke over the phone with the detective who was on this case in Madison. She said the case is now closed, but that doesn't mean it won't reopen. The detective told me if other victims happen to be trafficked by Jeffrey's alleged traffickers, she will use his case to assist in future investigations.